Hi, I'm Amy Brenner. This is my audience of 3 people.
Mrs. Ziegler, high school English teacher.
Bailey Gerber, high school senior. Maddie Sparks, senior.
Gluten-free is something you see everywhere on foods in the stores today, but how many people actually know what gluten is? I found out earlier this year, in the school year, that I was allergic to gluten, and the biggest adjustment for me was changing my diet. Many people everywhere are allergic to gluten, and gluten allergies are becoming a lot more common today. Some people cut it out of their diet for health reasons, and others cut it out just as a personal choice. Gluten tolerance is very common, and hopefully you will feel better informed about it after this speech. Something most people don't know is that gluten is just a common name for proteins found in wheat. This information I found is from the Celiac Disease Foundation. Gluten gives food such as bread and rolls and other things their shape, and it holds it together kind of like glue. Gluten is actually found in a lot of foods that you wouldn't really imagine. Like, you'd really think it's just in breads and things like that, but gluten's actually found in things like ice cream and french fries too. Though many foods you eat every day have gluten in them, changing your diet is not as hard as it sounds. A few easy changes that you can make would be switching from normal flour to rice flour like this. It pretty much cooks the exact same way. It just doesn't have any gluten in it because it's made with rice instead of wheat. Also, reading labels at the grocery store is another big thing, so you can find out if your food's gluten-free or not. Things like this. So normally if a food is gluten-free, it'll say right on it gluten-free. Or if it's not gluten-free, you can read the back, and where it says contains, that's where it'll usually say contains gluten or soy or things like that. So some brands that are really popular that are actually gluten-free would be like the Lara bars that you can get in the store. Those are gluten-free. Bob's Red Mill, that's all the flours that you can get. And then Udi's, that's like all of these brands, and they have a lot of breads, English muffins, pizzas, all that type of stuff. So it's really not that hard to switch. Now that you know how to adjust your diet accordingly, if you do need to go gluten-free, let's talk about the signs that you might be allergic to gluten. The biggest sign you may be allergic to gluten is if you feel ill after eating foods that contain gluten. According to Healthline, common everyday feelings that you might just mistake as you're just having a bad day are actually symptoms of being gluten intolerant if you feel these things after you eat foods that contain gluten. Things such as headaches, feeling tired, bloating. But how do you know for sure if you're allergic? Well, according to Amy Meyer, MD, and the Celiac Disease Foundation, things you can do would be to try an elimination diet, which would be cutting out all the foods that you think you might be allergic to and then slowly adding things back in to see how your body reacts to that. And also you can get a blood test. That's what I did personally. I got a blood test and it came back and it showed all the foods that I was allergic to, and gluten was on the list. So gluten is in nearly every food you eat, but changing your diet is easier than you might think. And getting tested for it is really, really easy. The elimination diet is something you can do at home and you don't have to go to a doctor for, and the blood test only takes about 5 minutes to do. Now that you know more about this, you can better understand your gluten-free friends. Adjusting to being gluten-free can be hard, but following some of the tips that I gave during this speech will make it a lot easier. Everyone probably knows someone that's allergic to gluten or is on a gluten-free diet, and you could be too by following just a few easy lifestyle changes.